So today we're going to expand on what we already know about genetics and our monohybrid crosses. And today we're going to do something called a dihybrid cross. And it's going to be very similar to our monohybrid crosses that we've been doing, except with that change that now we're going to do two traits, that dihybrid two traits. So a dihybrid cross is a cross that shows the possible offspring for two traits at the same time. So up until now, we've been able to say, well, maybe 25% of the children will be tall and 75 will be short. But organisms have a lot more traits than that. So we're gonna want to track the presence of many traits going throughout a generation. We want to be able to do that at the same time. So for example, let's say we're talking about, in this case, maybe we're talking about dogs. And dogs can either have black fur or white fur. And that fur can either be rough or smooth. So now we're talking about their color and their texture. We want to know both at the same time. We want to know, well,
Detective, please come to the main office.
We want to know, will the dogs be black and rough? Will they be black and smooth? Will they be white and rough? Will they be white and smooth? So we're trying to track the presence of two traits at the same time. And we want to know what combination of these two traits will the offspring have. To help us do that today, we're going to use this solution template. And I want you to be able to use these templates anytime you kind of work on these problems. You might not need them every time, but they're a great way to organize the information. So as I go through this example problem, I want you to follow along on your sheet in filling out, going through this problem here. So the first thing you're going to do on these sheets, and it's always going to be right here at the top, is you're just going to write down your two genes and your 4 alleles. Because now we're talking about two traits and can get a little more complicated. It's easier just to write down, well, what are my different genes and what are my alleles at the start? And I'll always give those to you. I might not give you letters. You might have to pick your letters. But I will always give you what the two genes and the different alleles for those genes are. So for this example, we have two genes. Our first gene is color, and our second gene is texture. Color comes in black and white. Texture comes in rough and smooth. Black is dominant, rough is dominant. So the first thing we're going to do is just fill out our two genes and our different alleles. So our first gene was for color, and our second gene was for texture. So for fur color, we had big B, little b. The dominant was black, and the recessive was white. And for fur texture, we had big R, little r, and dominant was rough, recessive was smooth. So for the first thing, just all you're going to do is just fill out, well, what are the two genes that I'm talking about? And what are the alleles for those genes that I'm talking about? That way you have them, they're just easier to reference. The second step of this, and this isn't really anything different than what you did in your monohybrid problems, was to identify the genotypes of the parents. So remember, they're all word problems. You need to read through the problem and figure out what the different combination of letters that the parents have. But what's important to note is that now we're talking about two traits, not just one. So each parent is going to have 4 letters. They're going to have 2 for one letter and 2 of the other. So in this case, it's 2 B's and 2 R's. So just like, when you did maybe height, you used capital T, lowercase t. Well, now we're talking about color and texture. So you have big B, little b for maybe color and big R for texture. You're going to have 4 letters because we're talking about 2 traits. So we're just doubling the amount of letters. So every parent has 4 letters now. 2 for each gene that you're talking about. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So I might give you a word problem like this. A mother dog is heterozygous for fur color and heterozygous for texture. The father is the same, heterozygous for fur color and texture. So if you read through this problem, you'll see that I'm giving you the genotype for each organism and each trait they have. So the first one is the mom is heterozygous for fur color. So she's going to be big B, little b. But I also need, well, what's her texture? She's heterozygous for texture. So that's big R, little r. So that's one parent right there. 2 letters for color and 2 letters for texture. 4 letters total. And then we need the dad. And I said the father is the same, heterozygous for fur color and texture. So dad is the same as mom. So he's got the same exact letters. Big B, little b, big R, little r. So when you look at your sheet here, you're just going to fill out your sheet putting your parents here. So here's mother here, big B, big R, little r. And here's parent 2, big B, big R, little r. This is dad over here. So you're going to just write your 2 parents there after you read the problem. Now, the next step is a little bit different than our monohybrid problems. The second step is to determine the possible gametes, the sex cells, the sperm and eggs. When we did monohybrid crosses, we just had to write the letters on the box. But now we actually need to figure out what possible combinations of these two genes or of these four alleles that our parents have will the sperm and egg have. So what's important to know is that chromosomes separate what we call independently. It means that of your possible alleles, each sperm and egg can have a random assortment. So it's not like all the big B's go together with the big R's or anything like that. It's completely random. Every combination is possible. A good way you could think about it is if, let's say you have a couple chromosomes here, and let's say these are the chromosomes you got from your dad, and these are the chromosomes that you got from your mom. Well, one way you could do it is you could make sperm and eggs that have all the chromosomes from your dad and all the chromosomes from your mom. Or you can mix and match them. So you could put a chromosome from your mom and a chromosome from your dad in one cell, and then maybe a chromosome from your mom, a chromosome from your dad in the other cell. It's completely random. And this is just an example with 2 chromosomes. Remember, you have 23 pairs. So there's a lot of combinations you can make. But again, we're only talking about 2 genes here, so we're only going to keep it very simple. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to take a look at our 2 parents, and we're going to figure out all the possible gametes that can be made from each parent. What's important to note is that each gamete will have 1 B and 1 R. So everything outside our box will just be 1 B and 1 R. And you'll see how this works in a second. We're going to use a little system called Foyle to determine what the 4 gametes are. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off with 1 parent. Let's pick mom here. I'm going to run through this process for mom. Remember, you have to run through it for both parents. So you have to determine the gametes for both parents. And again, we're going to use this system called Foyle. So Foyle stands for first, outer, inner, last. And it's the way we're going to combine these 4 letters together to make our sex cells, our sperm and eggs. So the way it works is, well, imagine you have your B's over here, your R's over here. You're going to take the first. What I mean by that is the first B that you see and the first R that you see. So if I'm reading left to right, I'm going to take the first B, which is a capital B, and the first R, which is a capital R. So I'm going to have big B, big R. That's my first possible combination. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to take the outermost letters, so letters on the outside. So the outside, out here I have big B, and then the outside on the other side I have a little r. So I'm going to have big B, little r. Now I'm going to take the inside. What letters are on the inside? If I look inside, I have little b, capital R. Those 2 letters are on the inside. And then the last letters, so the last B I see and the last R I see. So if I'm reading left to right, I have a little b, and then I have a little r. Little b, little r. And you can think about it this way. I paired up big B with big R, paired up big B with little r, and then I paired up the little b with the big R, and the little b with the little r. In this case, I got 4 different gametes, but sometimes you'll notice that some of them are the same, and that's okay. So now that I have these possible gametes, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write them down in my Foyle box, and you can do this as you're doing it, as you're doing those combinations. And then remember, that's just 1 parent, that's just mom. I have to do it again for dad. Now I'm going to save some time because if you notice, dad is exactly the same. So if I did the first B, the first R, the outside 2 letters, the inside 2 letters, and the last B, the last R, I get the same exact thing because, again, the 2 parents are the same. But remember, if your 2 parents are different, you have to go through this process again to figure out what those combination of letters are. So now that I know my gametes, my sex cells, my sperm and eggs, I'm ready to actually set up my Punnett Square. So you're going to set it up just like any other Punnett Square that you've set up, except this time I have 4 gametes, so it's going to be a 4x4 grid. I'm going to put 1 parent on the top and 1 parent on the side. So if you look at this, all I'm going to do to fill out my Punnett Square is I'm going to copy these different sperm and egg combinations that I got from Foyle, and I'm just going to copy them down here. And same thing for dad, copy them down here to go ahead and fill out my box. And now I'm actually ready to start combining and predicting what my children are. So once you have that box set up, and I'm going to use this screen here to help me out, you're just going to combine the letters in each box. It's a little more complicated because you have to, again, you're still carrying down and carrying across, but now every child, just like the parent, is going to end up with 4 letters. So if I look at this box, big B, big B, big R, big R. How about this box? Big B, big R, little r. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly fill out this whole box, and you can kind of see how the combinations work. Big B, big R, little r. You're just matching up and down. What's important to remember is that I always keep the B's together and the R's together. And then within those, I always write the capitals first. So I always write big B before a little b. I write a big R before a little r. But I still keep the B's together and the R's together. And this just makes it easy to read. And later when you go to try to find out, well, what's similar, it's a little bit easier for you. So let's take a look at that. And that's usually the last thing I ask you to do for these problems. So if you think about our different combinations of alleles, you could see I had black and white for color and rough and smooth for texture. Well, now I could ask you a question like, well, how many of the children are going to be black and rough? How many are going to be black and smooth? How many are going to be white and rough? How many are going to be white and smooth? There's always going to be those 4 combinations of phenotypes, and you can see I wrote them down here. How many would have a black rough coat? How many would have a black smooth coat? Well, let's just start off with an easy one, black and rough. Black and rough are dominant alleles. So remember, I only need one big B to be black, and I only need one big R to be rough. So to be black and rough, I need one big B and one big R. So if I look through my table here, and for the best bet to do this is a highlighter to highlight the different combinations. Is this one black and rough? Yes, one big B, one big R. How about this one? Yes, black because they have a capital B, and rough because they have a capital R. How about this one? Yes, capital B, capital R. This one, yes, black and rough, capital B, capital R. Rough, capital B, capital R. How about this one? No capital R, so this one's not rough. This one must be smooth. Yes, capital B and capital R. So you can see how I'm going through this. Each one I'm just asking, is it black and rough? You can see I've done this here quickly. I've actually highlighted in green all the ones that are black and rough, big B and big R's. How many are black and smooth? Well, to be smooth, you need 2 little r's. To be black, just one big B. So here, and here, I have black and smooth ones. How many are white and rough? Well, to be white, you need 2 little b's. Rough, just one capital R. So here we have white and rough. And then how many are white and smooth? So white, you need 2 little b's, and smooth, you need 2 little r's, right here. So when you go and do these problems on your own, the best bet is to use a highlighter to highlight your 4 different combinations. 4 different colors will really work well. And you can fill that out in your template sheet, just like I did here on the computer screen. Now, that was a lot to go over. So what I want you to do is I want you to actually flip over your template sheet. And on the back, I want you to do one practice problem while you're sitting here at the computer, so you can go back and forth throughout this video. I'm going to leave the practice problem up here. And so just try this on the back of your sheet. And if you get stumped, call me over. And what I want you to do is just in 1 second, I want you to pause the video because I'm about to flip towards the answer. But I don't want you to look at the answer until you're done so you can check your work. So go ahead and pause the video. And then when you're done, hit play and you can see the answer key. And here's the answer key.